You know what? I'm so disappointed in you in software. I had like really high expectations and everything before I even pre-ordered the game. For the premium access and everything, paid $130. Thought it was gonna be a smooth experience like Doom Eternal. That game ran perfectly fine on my 2080 back in 2020 with like 160 FPS or more. But yeah, now you guys want to force ray tracing on it as pre-built, and there's no way to turn it off. Like, come on, guys, what are you doing here? And I'm going to be testing the game out on the RTX 5060 Ti, the 16 GB version. And I'm going to be honest, it's pretty terrible. Okay, I'm really disappointed. I know it's not the best card in the world, but it's like a decent card. It's going to be one of the most popular cards for average gamers out there. And if the game is not even working that well on 1080p, I'm just going to spoil the benchmark for you. It's terrible. Even on 1080p, you got to go to the lowest settings to get 60 FPS. And that too on like DLSS upscale settings, not even native. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, it's really bad. Okay, so the settings and everything will be on the right side of the screen right now. But yeah, let's get to the benchmark. You guys see what I'm talking about. So if you guys want to see more benchmark, I'll be doing a bunch of other benchmark on Doom Eternal, the 5080, and some other GPUs. So stay tuned for that. Let's hope it's not as terrible as this is. And this is with the 9800X 3D. I can't even imagine how it's going to be on the 9700K to have. So yeah, I'm really disappointed in you, Id. Let's get to the benchmark. Yes, triple buffering is turned on, okay? So before anybody starts disliking the video just because of this, let me tell you something. My refresh rate is 240 Hz. Okay, so in order to actually feel any delay or lag or anything, or stuttering, you have to actually achieve 240 FPS for it to actually cap it, right? But in this case, it doesn't do anything because you are not able to even achieve 60 FPS, which you're about to see. And there's like a small delay, but it's not that bad compared to the regular vertical sync. The triple buffering is actually a better version of it. And don't worry, I tested out without VSync as well, but doesn't change anything much. So yeah, just gotta get that out of the way before jumping into the benchmark. And starting things off on 4K DLSS Performance Ultra Nightmare. But just before that, this setting, person from compute, if you turn that off, you lose about 5 to 10% FPS. So yeah, just keep that on, okay, all the time, because you just don't lose any FPS or performance. I don't know what it does, but yeah, when I turned it off, I lost about 5 to 10 FPS. Alright, so we're still doing 4K DLSS performance on Ultra Nightmare and getting 45 something FPS here with more than 9 GB of GPU memory used. The GPU temps are staying well above 55. That's pretty good. That's what I like about this card. This card doesn't use a lot of power, but it stays really cool. So 43 something FPS on maxed out settings. Maxed out settings with DLSS performance on 4K. And now we are on Nightmare settings. I didn't change anything else, just the Nightmare instead of Ultra Nightmare on DLSS performance on 4K. Let's see how that goes. We gained about like 5 FPS additional, which is like 2 to 3% improvement over Ultra Nightmare. Which is understandable. I was like, yeah, it's 4K. At least we're getting some type of improvement, right? And now moving on to high settings instead of Nightmare on the same DLSS performance 4K. Do expect at least 60 FPS. And guess what? We're still not even able to get 50. This is performance settings, guys. So it's upscaled from 1080p. So we're not able to get 60 FPS here. Terrible. Still using more than 9 GB of VRAM. And really bad. Less than 40 FPS. So I tried turning off the percent from compute like I told you guys. And just see the FPS here. So from 40 something FPS we're down to 35. So we lost about 10 FPS. See? So yeah, just keep that setting always on, guys. So otherwise you lose a ton of FPS for no reason. Alright? Okay, so I turned it back on and actually tried to turn down the texture pool size to the lowest to see if that helps us. But unfortunately it didn't. It was the same as before on high settings without the other thing turned on. Yeah, about 49-50 FPS. So now we're turning on DLAA and trying medium settings. And yeah, it was not pleasant either. It was pretty terrible again. But this is 4K, so you know, I still had some hopes when I turned down the resolution to 1440p or 1080p. Now you can see it's like below 30 FPS now. Really getting bad, right? And it was not smooth at all. For a game like this, you absolutely need the best FPS possible for the really fast movement. You know what I mean? If you have played Doom Eternal on Nightmare difficulty, you know what I'm talking about. Even though this game is not as hard as that game, but I was playing on Pandemonium difficulty right here. I didn't know if you die, you have to restart from the beginning, just like Ultra Nightmare. But it's like a little bit easier version of it, right? So yeah. So not a pleasant experience on DLAA medium settings. Now I'm turning back into DLSS performance low settings. Okay, so this is basically 1080p upscale to 4K on low settings. And see if we can get 60 FPS. And guess what? We're still not able to get 60 FPS. Like barely there though, but still not 60 FPS experience on 4K. Unfortunately. And that's the sad case for this game. Because they force ray tracing on it. Like why? Why, Hugo Martin? Why did you do this? Why did you make this as a final decision to force ray tracing on it? I hope the day one patch or something that, you know, gives us the ability to change the settings or turn off ray tracing for people with budget hardware. But yeah, terrible experience on 4K. And I died there, so which means my run is over and I start over from the beginning. So yeah, just before I moved on to 1440p, I wanted to test out multi-frame gen 4x on the lowest settings of 4K to see what we can get. And we were able to get 100 and something FPS, right? And I gotta say it was not that terrible of a delay on the mouse and keyboard. But you could actually notice it because you're not able to get 60 FPS native. So that's the main downside to frame generation, as you guys know. But visually speaking, it was pretty clear. I didn't notice any artifacts or anything, but there I ran into a bigger problem, which is freezing and hard crash right here. I had to just end task using Task Manager right here, and that was the end to my 4K run. What a sad ending. Okay, now moving on to 1440p. I'm trying on DLAA maxed out without any frame generation or upscaling, DLAA and Ultra Nightmare settings. And as you expected, it's pretty bad. I'm getting 44 FPS. Alright, still now 60 FPS, which is terrible considering this is a 16 gigabytes card. Yes, this is why we need an option to turn off ray tracing. I'm pretty sure if that was an option, we should have easily able to get 100 plus FPS on maxed out settings without any issue, right guys? So yeah, and I had to restart because I died because of the frame gen issue. It hard crashed and I had to restart, so a new run. Yes, subpar 40 FPS. That's all you get on Ultra Nightmare native settings on a 5060 Ti in this game. Okay, now moving on to DLSS Performance Ultra settings. And we are getting more than 60 FPS finally. Finally we got above 60 FPS. So we had to turn down settings to the DLSS Performance, which is like 720p upscaled to 4040p on Ultra settings. So to finally get more than 60 FPS, even though the 0.1% lows are below 50, actually 40 FPS here. So yeah guys, that's what it takes for you to get 60 FPS with this card on Doom Dark Ages, which is a sad sight to see. Turning the performance down to quality again, the upscalers, and medium preset, okay? So this is DLSS quality medium on 1440p settings. We are getting more than 60 FPS, which is still not that of a big difference, right guys? So because it's DLSS 4, you can actually play the game on performance upscaling and still get pretty much the same visuals without losing a lot of texture details and stuff. So I prefer that over this. Yeah, it's not really that great. To turn down to medium settings on 4040p to get decent 60 FPS on a 16 GB card in this game. So this is why I said, bro, like I'm really disappointed in id Software for this. And now we are testing out low settings with DLSS quality, no upscaling, and guess what? It's about the same performance we are getting on medium settings, which is underwhelming as hell. Like, how, guys? How is it like this? And we are still dropping down to the 50s on low settings, guys, on DLSS quality. So you have to play on DLSS performance or balanced, I guess, to just stay above 60 FPS all the time. But even then, you could do a drop down to below 60 at times in like fighting scenes like this. So, and this is the 16 GB card. You can see it's more than 9 gigabytes video RAM usage right now. So imagine on the 8 GB version of this card. So by all means, do not buy an 8 GB version of any GPU in this day and age. In 2025, if you're buying a new GPU, do not buy any 8 GB cards, because this is what the results you're going to get. The more the developers getting lazier with the ray tracing inbuilt and stuff, the harder we have to pay for it in terms of the GPU and everything, right? So just stay away from all the 8 GB cards as much as possible. All right. Okay, now last but not least, I wanted to try out ultra performance on low settings on 1440p. So this is mostly CPU intensive, but even then it's really GPU heavy. You guys can see it's like the 9800 XTD still has 28% usage, and almost maxed out on the 5060 Ti. But we're getting 80 FPS. Still not able to get even 100 FPS on ultra performance 1440p. Super disappointing, and can't do nothing about it unless devs do something about the ray tracing graphics settings. Don't get me wrong, the game looks absolutely beautiful, unlike Monster Hunter Wilds, which looked shittier and also played shittier. At least the game looks good in this case, right guys? So I can give it that. But yeah, please give us an option to take off ray tracing as an option, okay? And again, trying out multi-frame gen on the lowest settings possible to see the maximum FPS we can get on 1440p. Alright, this is MFG X4. You're getting 200 FPS, finally. Is it playable? It is playable. Then I ran into the same problem on 4K. Geez, hard crash right there. So yeah, you can get more FPS, but you have to deal with this. So there it is. Moving on to 1080p. On 1080p, we are trying out Ultra Nightmare again on DLAA native settings. Not any upscaling or frame gen, and pretty surprised to see 60 FPS, guys. So you can actually get 60 FPS maxed out, but only on 1080p. But even then, you can see it's dropping down to the 50s, right? This is not even a really intense area. It's just killing a bunch of small enemies, right? But even then, the 0.1% low is 29, and not so smooth frame time graph. It's still using more than 8 gigabytes of VRAM. Just so you guys know how bad an 8 GB card purchase these days is. Because they're forcing ray tracing into it, so ray tracing uses a lot of VRAM. And they're forcing you to buy 8 GB cards for $300. Yeah, that's terrible. The 5060, which is coming up next, it's gonna be worse than this. Expect maybe 30 FPS on these settings with stuttery frame time. Yeah, it's gonna be a really nightmare when it comes out. So moving on to DLSS quality on Ultra Nightmare. Alright, so not that great, but we are into the 70s and maybe 80s too now, okay? So yeah, it is a pretty better experience, I can say. And this is actually 720p upscaled to 1080p, and there it is. Not so bad. Still using more than 8 GB of VRAM. Can't believe it. 720p gaming is 8 GB. For 720p gaming, you need more than 8 GB of VRAM in 2025. It's crazy. Okay, from Ultra Nightmare to just Ultra settings on DLSS quality. Upscaling on 1080p. Let's see how that is, and we are getting 80 something FPS again. Alright. So yeah, not a pretty big jump. So that's like 2 or 3 settings down from the max settings, which is still not enough to get us a decent, high refresh rate experience. Like, this is what you guys don't understand. In 2020 in Doom Eternal, we're able to get this type of experience on a 2080 8GB card, first gen RTX card, right guys? I was able to get more than 160 FPS on ultra nightmare settings. I'm not joking. And here we are in 2025. Pretty decent card, which is about, I'm pretty sure this card is about at least 30 to 50% improved, performance wise. And still we are not able to get 100 FPS on 1080p upscale settings. That is absolutely crazy to me, guys. Alright, moving on to DLAA low settings to see if we can get 60 FPS on low settings native. And we are absolutely able to get 60 FPS over here. I was like, okay, if we are not able to get 60 FPS on low settings native on 1080p, I was gonna leave a negative review on Steam, because this is crazy. This is a 5060 Ti 16GB card. I mean, no, we are still going down below 60 FPS in a fight scene. Great. Unbelievable. So I'm gonna wait until the game actually comes out, like maybe tomorrow. And if it's not fixed, I'm gonna have to leave a negative review, even though the gameplay is absolutely fun as heck. Alright. Yeah, the gameplay is absolutely really fun. I'm enjoying the game so far. Even though I died a couple of times and also because of frame gen crash. But the gameplay is solid. They never miss on that aspect. But this time they really missed on the performance aspect. So yeah, terrible. On low settings native, you're getting below 60 FPS. And now we're doing ultra performance on low settings. So it is like 360p upscale to 1080p, I believe. Yeah, still not able to get more than 100 FPS. Not even close to 100 FPS actually. What a terrible day to be a PC gamer. I am a hardcore Doom fan and I was not expecting this at all, and terribly disappointed. Terribly disappointed. Yeah, so frame gen ain't gonna cut it, because a lot of people, including me, not a big fan of AI upscaling and frame gen. I'm almost 30 years old, so I grew up in the era where you didn't know about any of this stuff. So we are getting like 100 FPS indoors, but when it comes to a real fight scene, it's gonna drop below 100 almost all the times. Yeah, not impressed, even on ultra performance settings. This is a mess, in my opinion. Okay, and lastly, I wanted to test out a little bit of DLAA settings to see if it's the DLAA causing all the issues of this terrible performance. But even on TAA, on low settings, it's not a major improvement. But on TAA, I could actually see the visual blurriness and a little bit of edge, not that sharp. The DLAA is definitely the better option for any anti-aliasing so far. So TAA gives you a little bit better performance, but it's not impressive because there's ray tracing inbuilt. So no matter what you turn off or on, you're not gonna get a really good experience out of this game. On a 5060 Ti, unfortunately, we're doing another benchmark pretty soon on a 5080, so stay tuned for that and see how it is working on that card. So yeah, on TAA too, like, I'm not impressed. And finally, on Ultra Nightmare TAA settings, we are getting about the same that we got on DLAA and DLSS native settings. So maybe 5% improvement. Because on TAA we are getting close to 60, maybe 62 FPS. So we are getting like 62, 64, kind of the same ballpark. I don't know, guys. You know what? It's pretty much the same. I don't see any difference except that the visual quality is a little bit degraded on TAA. So the blurriness. And that's about it, guys. Doom, the Dark Ages. What a disappointment. Not in terms of the gameplay or the actual game, but in terms of the performance. Absolutely terrible decision going to go with inbuilt ray tracing on a game like this. Guys, like, yeah, so stay tuned for more benchmarks on this game. I'll be testing out multiple different GPUs on whatever I have. So I hope you guys find this video helpful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We're doing a lot more benchmarks on different stuff, comparisons, CPU and GPU comparison. You know the deal. So hope you guys are having a great time wherever you are. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.